Yo, what is up? It is Rowdy HQ back finally with another video. It has been a while, but I wanted to get on the mock draft train before the draft rolls around next month. This is my first mock draft of the year, so I'm only going to do the first round this time. I'm not too versed with the players as much as I want to be, but I do have a general sense of who will likely go in the first round. So I think I can put a pretty good mock draft together. This is going to be more of what I think the teams are going to do rather than what I think they should do. I might make that more of a big board video because I'm not the one picking for the teams, clearly. So, yeah, let's get into it. With the first overall pick, I've heard that I was watching the Cowboys channel and I saw them pick Anthony Richardson for the Panthers at number one. But I've heard outside of that, CJ Stroud's name's popped up a lot. And I don't really think there's a reason that the Panthers would need to throw smoke out there. So at number one, I'm going to go with CJ Stroud. Out of the big four QB prospects that are likely to go in the first round, I think that he is the best combination of already being put together and traits. Cause I mean, he's like 6'2. He's got a good arm. And I also think he's produced at a high level, maybe compared to Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. Bryce Young's right there with production, though. This guy's accuracy is probably his best trait. And we did see, I think we underestimated his athleticism this year. He scrambled a bit more than I saw last year. And in the Georgia game, in the semifinal, I basically think that sealed it. I think that I think that the worries about this guy were overblown. I think that this guy can handle pressure well. I don't think he's necessarily complete where he's 100% a lock not to be a bust. But I do love this guy's combination of, like I said, already being put together really well, size, accuracy. I think he has good arm strength. And that combined with accuracy, that's going to lend to a QB1 in the NFL. And I also like how the Panthers have surrounded themselves with weapons with Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. It isn't necessarily an elite receiving group and it does need help, but I don't think Jayla or CJ Stroud will be dropped in right away and then hung out to dry. So, number one, I've heard CJ Stroud's name. It makes sense to me. At number two, though, this is by far my best prospect overall in the class. I am a super Bryce Young fan. I think just for a general draft tip, or this is my opinion, when your number one worry about a quarterback is size, I think that's a poor argument, or it doesn't make sense because I don't think QB is a position where size is a determining factor whether someone succeeds or fails. This would be unprecedented in terms of a QB of his small stature going this high in the draft, but he's produced at every level at Alabama, basically. I think he was like the highest ranked recruit coming out of high school in California. And I think that this guy mentally is the most progressed out of all the QBs, or he's already put together the most. I mean, I'm not trying to like knock anybody, but this guy's vision downfield, his decision making, most of the time, the accuracy, the ability to see players I didn't even think were open. And you combine that with his scrambling ability, I think the pocket presence could maybe use a little work from what I've seen, but I don't think that this guy gets rattled, really. I think it's more he just doesn't see sacks sometimes. He might try to extend things a little too much. I think this guy's a playmaker. I love that at the QB position. I think he has an above average arm for his size. I don't really think he's too small. Like Kyler Murray's had success, and I think he's smaller than Bryce. So, or around the same size, at least height wise. I think Bryce Young should go number one. He's my best overall prospect, and I think he's the most likely to be a stud at the next level. I think that this guy's going to be a QB1. And to end, I think this is going to be a hot take. Based off where they were right now in their draft journey, I think he's a better prospect than Trevor Lawrence. Because I think we saw Trevor Lawrence in college sometimes, and even in year one, even though he was put in a crappy situation, I think he struggled under pressure. I think there were some cases of him not handling it well. I never saw Bryce Young really get rattled. In fact, I think he was pretty clutch. And the talent, everyone will say, oh, well, he played at Bama, so of course there's not going to be any pressure. He's playing with multiple five-star recruits. Outside of Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and John Mechie, basically, I got to ask people, who really did he play with? Like, can you name anybody else? And so, based off Alabama standards, I don't think he played um, with elite talent at a college level. I think he's a better prospect than Tua and Mac. So, number 2 for Bryce Young. Texans, I think, are getting a steal. Number 3, this is a popular pick. I don't have him as my number 1 recruit nor defensive or prospect, but based off the combination, you got to factor character in too. Will Anderson, number 3, the Cardinals. Number 1, they need leadership anywhere on this team. It's not. It is a franchise that's a train wreck right now. Will Anderson, I think, will step in year 1 or year 2 as a captain, and he's an edge rusher, which pass rush is the most important position on defense. I don't know if this guy is the build to be like a all pro one, because I think he is a little stiff, but the strength is there. The straight line speed of the quarterback's there. This guy is a nightmare off blitzes because this guy hits the hole super strong and he hits you with violence and impact. And I don't think he's hit his ceiling. So if this guy can develop more of a pass rush, I'm trying to think of the word, repertoire. Yeah, that's the word. If this guy can develop some more pass rush moves combined with his athletic traits, I think that this dude could be a nightmare at the next level. Maybe even an edge one, maybe to Micah Parsons level. And you don't pass talent like that up at 3. I do think he has a pretty good floor too, just based off his traits. And he's a high character guy, everything I've heard. And I think he'll be a leader, which this team needs desperately. Number 4, I would have loved CJ Stroud here, but they need to get out of QB purgatory. Stop trying to go with these vet QBs who are getting dumped by teams. Look to a new, fresher direction. And I have Anthony Richardson going number 4. This dude is a project. I don't necessarily I don't think he'd need to sit his first whole year at the next level, but maybe for the first half or first quarter of the season just to develop, because this guy has work to do in terms of like the QBing side of the game or like the processing side, but the traits are there physically. This guy is by far the most dominant QB prospect physically. This guy is built like Josh Allen and Cam Newton, and I think he's faster than both of them. So this guy's the dual threat QB of the class. Like I said, he's super strong, he's big, and I think he's fast. And the arm talent, man, the completion percentage was bad. But when this guy was making throws, he was making money throws. Those were on the money, in stride, 50 yards downfield to his receivers. And those are throws that are going to make you money at the next level in the NFL. Those are game-changing type throws. 53% completion percentage was bad. And like I said, he's got work to do. But number 4, I don't think you should pass up on a guy like this. And if he's bad, like the second half of the season or for most of the year, he doesn't look like the guy. Y'all ain't gonna be good anyway. No offense, at least I don't think so. I think there's other good teams in the division, one at least. So I don't think you'll be winning the division. If you're that bad, go get Caleb Williams next year. At number 5, I think he's gonna drop based off the recent racing crash controversy, and I heard that he did not have a good pro day. He showed up overweight, but I don't think Jalen Carter, a talent like that's going to slip too much. I don't think he's going to get in too much legal trouble if he's going to get in any more. And this guy, build-wise, is a freak. I think that this guy would be suited best if you lined him up next to like a 2-man or occupying 2 blocks, run stuffing nose tackle like Vita Vea. You put this guy one-on-one with somebody, I think he's going to win most of the time. The speed, the violence, I think that this guy is just built like a freak. And even I think he's also got a good ceiling. I don't think he's capped out. Jalen Carter has the potential to be a game wrecker at the next level. And it's pass rush, which for me is the most important part of the defense, like I said. Yeah, this defense still needs help, even though they did improve down the line. Get your secondary some help. Jalen Carter, love the pick at 5. He might not drop this much, to be honest. Some team might trade up. Number 6, the defense was better down the stretch, but the Lions next year need to put it together. This is the point where they got to say, okay, we beat the Packers, which was good for a confidence boost, but we need some playoff success now. and I'm going to give him help defensively with Tyree Wilson. This dude is built like a freak too. Super long wingspan combined with a huge frame, a lot of strength. Probably could develop a little more as a pass rusher, but get yourself a strength guy or a bull rush type guy compared to a technician like Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson is more of the toolsy, going to beat you with crafty pass rush, while you can let Tyree Wilson dominate inside or maybe kick him off outside. I think he's versatile, and I like to have a little bit of a diversity in terms of like skill sets rushing. Maybe it's not that important, but they do need help regardless defensively. The secondary, it might make sense to trade down and get a cornerback, but I don't know if there's a corner. There's not a Sauce Gardner who should go number one or this high. I don't think. Maybe Joey Porter, but yeah, Tyree Wilson at 6. Get yourself another pass rush. Pass rush goes early. He's not going to be there when they're picking later. Get yourself help anywhere on the defense. So number 7, the defense had a lot of the offense was a letdown last year because I don't think they could protect anybody, and their QB situation was bad. Get yourself a pass protector to help the skill position players in your QB. Peter Skoronski, I don't think he's quite as good of a prospect as Slater was because I don't know if he's as strong. He handles power as well as Slater does. But Peter Skoronski, I like technicians at the position. I do think that this guy will be successful day one. And I do think that this is a team that's looking to compete, even though I don't really think they stand a chance in that division with the Chiefs. They're probably best looking at second place. But yeah, I have Peter Skoronski as my OT1. They have Colton Miller at left tackle. This guy could probably play right tackle, and if he doesn't work out there, put him at guard. I think he's versatile. Some people have him as a guard, but I'd try him out at tackle because I think that's more valuable. Jimmy G needs help, so get him a good O-line. Number 7, Peter Skoronski to the Raiders. Not much more to say. Number 8, this is probably going to be a bit of a reach, but this guy killed it at the draft combine. And we saw with Micah that the traits let you go earlier or tend to make you go earlier. Nolan Smith at like plus 230 ran a sub 4.4. That's freakish. I think this guy will at least be a good run stopper at the next level day one. This team needs pass rush help, or this team needs pass rush help badly. I think that the secondary is pretty good now because they got Jesse Bates along with AJ Terrell and Casey Hayward. So I don't really think there's too much pressure on the D or the front 7 to produce early because they do have a good secondary that will afford them more time to get to the QB. This guy's a Georgia guy, so the Falcons are they've probably already talked to this guy. They'll have him in for like a in-state visit. I think every team gets that. So Nolan Smith, he's a bit of a project too, I think, but you're not going to be able to get him later. The traits are crazy. The speed is crazy. Make this guy like a DPR. Don't let this guy get blocked early. I think he can make an impact pretty soon. Good prospect. Number 9, I love what they did with the Panthers trade. I think that the Panthers gave up too much, and I think the only way they'd make it worth it, to be honest, is if they took Bryce Young, because I think he's my number 1 QB. I think he's the most surefire lock to be a hit. Yeah, kudos to the Bears front office for getting technically an extra first, 2 seconds. And DJ Moore, getting DJ Moore was too much. I don't know why the Panthers didn't try to give up a third, but they did get help. But this O-line needs help. This is a prove-it year for Justin Fields, in my opinion. I'm not quite as big of a Justin Fields fan as other people. I know there's a lot of Bears fans that think that he is a stud, or he does need help. I'll agree on that. He needs definitely a lot of help. The O-line was bad. Broderick Jones, I don't think this guy gave up a sack. I need to look back at that. But he's been a part of an O-line the past 2 years that's played at a championship level. He's played with a lot of good players next to him. He's had probably a lot of good tutelage, and it's a good O-line factory at Georgia. Line this guy at left tackle, right tackle, whatever they need help regardless on the O-line. You need to give your guy time to throw, even though I read somewhere that I think he did have a lot of time. But I think Broderick Jones can make an impact at the next level, and he has good traits. So number 9, I think tackles should go earlier. In general, I think teams undervalue O-line I'm not necessarily for like taking centers in the top 10, but most of the good teams, like we saw with the Eagles and the Chiefs, they were probably the first and second best O line in the NFL, and they got to the Super Bowl. And we saw with the Bengals O line that they faltered down the stretch against the Chiefs. Good O lines, I think, can make up for mid offense at other positions like receiver, and it helps your running game. Get yourself a tackle. Bears need help. Number 10, I've seen this guy drop a lot more. Like this guy was a top 5 pick for many early. I don't think he's going to drop too far because I think that the traits are there. Myles Murphy at 10. The Eagles love going D-line early. They keep bringing they brought Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox back, but at a certain point, you're not going to be able to do that anymore, signing them on 1-year deals. Get yourself a guy for the future / can produce early. Myles Murphy, this dude's massive. I like the traits. The production didn't live up to the traits, I don't think. But I do think that this guy is somewhat of a safe pick because I like the strength. One thing that I think was underrated, at least the clips I saw, I think that this guy does cut the angles to the QB well. Like he flattens his route well. I don't think he gets pushed off like past the QB. I do think there's a lot to work with, and he's going to have a lot of good veterans to help him there. I don't think he's going to drop. He might drop past this, but I don't think he should because I think that this guy has traits to be successful, and it's a team that successfully or historically has dealt well with D linemen, and pass rush is important. And we saw in the Super Bowl that when you can't get to Mahomes, you ain't going to do anything. I do think I'm not just saying this as a Cowboys fan. I do think that the defense was a bit overrated. I think a lot of their stats were beating up on bad teams because we saw with the Cowboys and the Chiefs, the Cowboys' second game, they struggled when teams were firing on all cylinders. You got to factor in you're going to play the Chiefs. You can't just look in conference. You got to get to Mahomes. Myles Murphy is going to help you do that. Number 11, the Titans. This team is trending in the wrong direction at an astonishing rate, but I do think that JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba will help curtail the fall. I don't know why they keep hemorrhaging receivers. Like we saw that the GM, I think, got fired, or the man or whoever the player guy was. He got fired because the AJ Brown trade was ridiculous. I don't understand why they didn't pay him. Then they get the Julio thing. I would have held on to him for another year. Don't know why they cut him. Robert Woods was barely there. But JSN to me, I think is a steal at 11. I think he should go earlier. I see people say that he's a slot only prospect, but even then, I don't necessarily think that's a knock because Cooper Kupp is balled out from the slot. CD's balled out from the slot. Just get yourself a guy in the slot that's going to get open. Like give me an 100+ guy, 100 catch guy season. I think that this guy's wide receiver 1. The route running for me is the most important part of a receiver. If you don't have athleticism, JSN isn't athletic, but he does get open. And I also do like this guy's spectacular catch ability. I think that this guy isn't like he doesn't catch like the highest completion percentage of balls, but when this guy makes crazy catches, they're crazy. We saw that in the Utah game, and I think that basically means that along with the route running ability, I think that this guy is the makeup to be a wide receiver 1. Out of all the wide receivers in this draft class, I do think that this guy has overall the best amount of traits and ability to be a number 1. I can't say that about a lot of other players, to be honest. I think there's a lot of number 2s in this class, basically. Number 12, speaking of receiver, I've seen that this guy dropped 2. I don't think he should drop that far. I think people are hating on him a little too much in terms of like his ability to get open. I do think this guy runs slants well. He's a big time playmaker. Even if he's a number 2 or like a deep threat, more of a role player. Quentin Johnston, this guy combined with Bryce Young's deep downfield ability, I think that this is a nightmare pairing for defenses. And I think that this guy also has somewhat of a high ceiling. He isn't like a burner, but I do think he has good speed. I don't know if he can put on that much more weight, but this guy gets open downfield. I think this guy tracks the ball well. And you combine that with Bryce Young, who's super accurate. That's a nightmare. I don't know how healthy John Mechie's going to be or what his status is, but him and Bryce Young, for Bryce Young at Alabama last year, he was more of the clutch third down. You need a first down. We need to convert the downs. He was that guy, so I think he'll play off what Quentin Johnson will play off him well. They need receiver help regardless. They already got Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown. So if they get Quentin Johnston and John Mechie comes back and Dameon Pierce comes back healthy, the O-line's kind of mediocre. It's okay. I think that they could have a decent offense, like right off the bat, not like a top 10, but I do think that it could be competent in top half of the league. So Quentin Johnston at 12, I like this pick. Number 13, this might not be with them. It could be with the Packers. In fact, I think it's likely it will be with the Packers. I don't understand what the hangup is. The Jets just need to give up a pick for Rodgers. Stop trying to play hardball. Your team is in win now mode, not at QB, clearly. But outside of O-line and QB, the team's set. They're getting receiver help. They have Breece Hall. The defense is really good. If this team got like an elite QB and had one more killer draft like they've had recently, I think that this team could be in the Super Bowl mix. I don't think they're a favorite. So stop messing around. Trade this pick for Aaron Rodgers and ask the Packers to take some of the cap. I hate when teams try to play hardball. I think it's dumb. Stop. Like, I don't want to go on a rant here, but basically, you want Rodgers, give up what you need to get him. Okay. If it's not a ridiculous asking price for the Packers, make the trade. But regardless of who they take, they need O-line help. I'm trying to find the guy. Here he is. Paris Johnson Jr. I don't necessarily think that this guy is going to be like a first teamer annually, but I think he's a safe pick. I think that he's versatile. He's a veteran in the short time because he's played everywhere basically along the Ohio State line. I think he could probably play anywhere on the Jets line too. They need help in a lot of places because I don't know if Mekhi or Mekhi Becton's the option. Laken Tomlinson was a massive disappointment. They need O-line help. They'll probably have to double dip here in the draft, but Paris Johnson, he's overall just good technique-wise. I think he's got good power. Safe pick to me. Like I said, I don't think that this guy's going to be like a freak Trent Williams, but you need consistency. I think that this guy's pretty consistent, and he's been a part of two high-powered offenses the past 2 years. And I think my favorite trait with him is I've heard this guy is a great character. So I don't think you're going to have to worry about this. You're not going to have to worry about this guy in terms of like locker room presence. I think he could make his teammates better. I think he'll be a captain at some point. And if they keep Zach Wilson, even someone's going to have to be in his corner. I think Paris Johnson will fight for Zach Wilson because one thing I don't like that the Jets did, I think that the Jets let their players. I wasn't a fan of the Mike White train just because I think that those t-shirts like the Mike, White, that's a bad look because it basically means that they've given up on Zach, and you're having a lot of players tweet out that, we don't like Zach, not directly saying that, but don't want to go on too much of a tangent. I think Paris Johnson will be a great culture fit, and he's also a good player at 13. O-line is always a good position to invest in early. He makes sense for the Jets at 13. Number 14, I think people are going to think this is a reach, and it's kind of like of course, like a tight end for Bill Belichick. But Michael Meyer at 14, I think that this guy is going to be immediately make an impact at the next level. He's the most complete tight end in the draft class. I've seen some people say that they don't like him because he's more of like the Jason Witten style tight end, maybe or the old style where it's, this guy's not going to make plays downfield. He's not a playmaker, but I think that getting open is, you can't undersell that. I think that this guy, we saw that this guy was the number one option for Notre Dame. This guy's also a good blocker, just overall a complete tight end. And the tight end is a position that I think you need to be complete at because I think that's a reason you don't see him succeed early in the NFL because if they can't block, they're not going to be doing anything because then you're just basically having some guy out there, another receiver run routes. You need your tight end to be able to block. I think Travis Kelce's basically another receiver, but he had to develop his blocking ability. I don't think he's comparable to Travis Kelce, but I do think he, like I said, versatility at the tight end position is great. And for that reason, he's my number one tight end. And I think that this guy will make an impact at the next level. They need help in receivers badly anyway. So I could see them going Jordan Addison here or someone else or Quentin Johnston. They got Juju. They still need help. They need to see if Mac Jones the guy. Get him help. And you can also run 12-man personnel with Hunter Henry. Number 15, ironically, I'm going to have him go receiver after Rodgers possibly leaves. Even if he doesn't leave, they need receiver help. Jordan Addison, I think this guy will play off Christian Watson well. They can both go down the field, but I think Jordan Addison is probably a little more. I think you can use him more on intermediate / short routes. The 40 time was a disappointment. I honestly thought he might run a sub 4.4, but it's not so much about the 40 time in the combine. It's more about your game speed, and I've seen this guy burn people routinely. And if this guy improves his route running, I do think that there's maybe wide receiver 1 potential. I'm not a fan of the size weight-wise, but he isn't small height-wise. And we've seen Devontae Smith succeed at the next level. If you don't put pressure on Jordan Addison to be a 1 early, maybe there's going to be pressure because I lost Allen Lazard. So he might come in as a number 1. Christian Watson might be the guy that gets double teamed, but get creative early. Use this guy on screens, line this guy up in the backfield, and he is a bullet in the coffin winner. So there's pedigree there, or there, he's produced, which I like at the receiver position. So number 15, Jordan Addison, I like that fit there. At number 16, this is kind of of course, everyone's doing this, but Will Levis is 16. I'm not quite as high on Will Levis as other people are, and I think he's dropping a little bit recently. I think he's solidified himself as QB4, but I will say if this guy does put it together from like the processing and mental makeup for the position, I think he will be really good at the next level because the arm power, I think this guy can be accurate. The strength, though, at the position combined with potential accuracy, that's amazing. I've liked the mechanics from what I've seen. So I don't know if you drop this guy into a position where he doesn't have help, I think he'd struggle mightily. But they do have good receivers in Washington. I think they have a decent running back room. They need to improve the O-line, but if you can get him an O-line, I think he could succeed early. They might want to see what Sam Howell has, but I mean, at this point, QBs go early. And another thing is, if they have a good defense, but their defense is not going to win the division because the Eagles basically brought everyone back. The Cowboys, call me a homer. I think the Cowboys winning the division next year. The Cowboys got exponentially better, and they're getting players back from injury. And they're probably going to draft somebody to help out. Like I said, Eagles are good, and the Giants got better. I think there's a good chance the Washington Commanders are going to be bad next year. So if Will Levis is bad, go get Caleb Williams or tank for Caleb. You don't have to stick to a guy necessarily. Number 17, corners are not going to drop this early, but I have a hard time evaluating corners. It's one of the tougher positions for me to evaluate. Joey Porter at 17. Of course, people are going to say that, oh, of course, because his dad played for him. But they do need corner help. For a defense that's like the highest payroll in the NFL, it was awfully mediocre because the secondary was pretty bad. And I don't know if they can really stop the run. Like outside of pass rush, they need help. They got Patrick Peterson. Get yourself another corner, potential shutdown corner across from him. And Joey Porter, I like the guy's athleticism. This guy's not lacking anywhere physically. He's not complete, but I do have him as my number 1 QB. And I also think he's a good guy. Makes sense. I mean, it's a perfect fit basically at 17. And I do like players whose dads formerly played. I think it gives them a bit of more of a history or early advantage lineage. So 17, Joey Porter. Like I said, I don't think corners are going to drop this much. But if they get Joey Porter combined with Pat Pete and maybe fix like the linebackers or run game, elite defense, and I love it basically. One thing I will say, I'm not going to do trades in this draft, but for the Steelers, they do have basically a first-round pick because they have the 32nd pick, which is the first to the second round. because the Dolphins lost their pick. But if I don't think Joey Porter will drop, but I do think there's a chance Jordan Addison drops. If Jordan Addison slips to like 17 or 18, I would legitimately do think, or like the mid 20s, I think that the Steelers should package the 32nd pick with like their third or maybe another second or multiple fourths or whatever day 3 picks. I don't know how much it'll cost to trade up. I don't have the chart. But if they could land Joey Porter and Jordan Addison in the first round, that would be amazing because I am a fan of the QB receiver college connection because I think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are always on the same page. They're always reading each other's minds. And Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison produced mightily together. I love that fit. And Jordan Addison's also said he'd like to play with Kenny Pickett. So at 18, at first this guy was being mocked to like the top 10. He might go there still, but I'm gonna have Devin Witherspoon, Devin Witherspoon going at 18 to the Lions. Of course, people are gonna say that, oh, you know, this guy's like a dog. He's physical, so of course Dan Campbell's gonna love him. But this guy is physical. Man coverage might be a little too grabby, but I do like physical QBs. I like QBs that aren't gonna play passive or play timid. And this team needs help in the secondary, at least the cornerback position, because Jeff Okudah has been off and on. I don't know what that guy's future with the team is between injuries and just not coming in and living up to the hype. I don't know what his future is. Of course, they're going to give him another year, but you probably need to bank on maybe him not being the answer later. So you do need corner help, and you need someone across from him regardless. So if you get Tyree Wilson and Devin Witherspoon in the first round, that is your defense instantly gets better. Maybe they need to go offense here somewhere because they did lose DJ Chark, but I think that the offensive coordinator is coming back. That dude's going to be a head coach next year. So I think they can make stuff happen with day 2, day 3 offensive picks. So Devin Witherspoon at 18 to the Lions. Yeah, we're going to have a bit of a corner run here. And 19, I know a lot of people think this guy might be a second rounder, but I do not think Kelee Ringo, I don't know why I said Mealy. Kelee Ringo, I think should still go in the first round. I know a lot of people don't like how I think he's gotten beat a lot underneath. And I think he is maybe a bit of a project. I don't think he's like you're going to have to sit him project. I think he can play day 1. But Kelee Ringo, he's a physical freak for the position. I love the speed. I think he ran a sub 4.4. I forgot how fast, but he is fast. We saw against Cedric Tillman, I wouldn't try this guy downfield because if he can box you out and run the route, like we saw that pick was crazy in the end zone against the Volunteers. And I also think he fits what Todd Bowles likes to do a bit with off coverage. The defense is still good, so I don't think there's necessarily pressure on him to basically be the number 1 option on defense or be the carry. They are losing talent, but the D-line is still good. They still got good linebackers. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be like super competitive anymore, but they could make a playoff run. I like Kelee Ringo at 19. I don't think that his trait should let him slip out of the first round. And I saw him get interviewed. Seems like a good person or like a chill guy. So, and he's been a part of a championship level defense for 2 years. So clearly he's been doing something right. Maybe hasn't been the most impactful guy on the defense, but I do like the traits. Maybe this guy should go earlier. He probably should go earlier than Kelee Ringo. But at 20, what's his name? The coach Pete Carroll likes traits. Christian Gonzalez has got speed. I think he is a pretty freaky athlete. I do think Christian Gonzalez is going to go earlier than this, but he might be the first corner off the board. In fact, I think there's a good chance he will be the first corner. So 20 would be a steal, but at this point, the Seahawks still need defensive help. Same thing with the Lions. If they're able to get Jalen Carter and Christian Gonzalez as one draft, that defense is probably going to go from mediocre to really good in an instant. They probably are going to need offensive help, but I do like their receivers. Tyler Lockett's getting up there in age, but I do like the running backs. I think they got the tackles. Let's see what Geno does. I don't think you need to address QB right away. you might need to trade up later if you don't like him, the guy, because you do have a top 5 pick. But Christian Gonzalez, freaky athlete, freaky traits, high value position. I think this is a steal. I don't think he's going to drop this much, but I think he fits here. 21, Dolphins forfeited their pick. I don't want to go too much in this. I don't think they should have lost the first round pick, but NFL is going to NFL. So maybe it's worth it because you shouldn't tamper. But man, losing a first round pick is crazy. But moving on. I hate this as a Cowboys fan, and maybe Kellen does this to mess with us. Not really. He seems like a good guy. But Bijan Robinson, this is probably going to be a need because I don't know what the Austin Eckler situation's looking like. And I saw he was like on some podcast where he was pretty adamant about wanting out. Like it didn't look like it didn't look good. I don't know how much he's asking for. If he wants 12 million, I'd probably give that, to be honest, because you can like work it out, work the money over the years down the line. But Bijan Robinson, I do think will step in and basically immediately replace Eckler's production. Maybe let another team get him or offer you picks for him. Bijan Robinson is the best running back prospect I've seen in a while. I was a huge Jonathan Taylor fan, but yeah, I love Bijan Robinson. I wish he dropped to 26 to the Cowboys. I think this is as far as he drops, and I think there's a good chance he goes earlier. Maybe Eagles trade down and get him. Yeah. I don't know what the Keenan Allen situation is, but Kellen Moore, you don't want to leave your guy out to dry year one, and it didn't look pretty last season with multiple guys getting injured. You need someone you can rely on, and I think that's Bijan. 21, we all know how good he is. 22, this guy did not kill it traits-wise, but this just seems like a Ravens pick. Brian Branch, I don't know if they're really losing anyone in the secondary soon. Maybe Marcus Peters, but they're versatile with their DBs. I've seen people say that this guy can play corner alongside safety, maybe box safety. So Brian Branch, get yourself a guy that can do a little bit of an all. He's a reliable guy. Alabama's DBs have a good track record, and they have Marlon Humphrey, so they know that. Yeah, maybe if Lamar Jackson comes back, I think it should be receiver possibly. But I really don't know what that situation's unfolding, and I haven't seen the Ravens take a first-round receiver in a while. So I'm gonna go with Brian Branch. Good fit, good player. I think he's more of a baller than he's not a traits guy. So you ain't drafting this guy to become some like 4-3 rangy freak that you can develop. He's pretty plug and play. Know what you're gonna get. 22 Brian Branch. 23, maybe a bit of a reach too here, but Zay Flowers. I don't really know why they got rid of Thielen. I haven't really looked at his cap hit, but really now you don't have any receivers outside of Jefferson. So receiver is a desperate need because if you shut down Jefferson or I don't want to say that, heavens forbid he gets injured, you were screwed. And I think that this team is looking at regression. So yeah, you need to help your receiving issue. I don't know if what's his name, Kirk Cousins, is going to be here soon or for the long haul. Regardless, get yourself a guy that can play off Jefferson in the slot. Maybe work outside. He's not very big, which is concerning, but I do like his. I think he can play off Jefferson well because I think he's elusive. He's a playmaker. I saw one play where he broke like 5 ankles. Good player, and it's a receiver. We're seeing receivers go early. This pick makes sense. 23, Zay Flowers to the Vikings. 24, I think I don't know what the Evan Ingram situation is, but regardless, I would get more help. Even though they did get Calvin Ridley, maybe this isn't a good fit right here, but Dalton Kincaid, you can run 12-man personnel. If Evan Ingram leaves soon, you have another option there. I think out of all the tight end prospects, this guy is the most like Kelsey in terms of I think he's more of a receiver than a tight end. He's just a big receiver, basically. This guy was clutch for Utah. This guy put up crazy stats for the tight end position. And maybe since you have Calvin Ridley, you paid Zay Flowers, and you have what's his name, the A&M receiver. I forgot his name. He was a former Cardinal, but basically You might have the 4 skill positions or offensive receiving positions filled, but like I said, I don't know what the future holds, and I think that this team is going to go pass heavy because you have Trevor Lawrence. I wouldn't be running the ball like 30 times a game. So high octane passing offense, 12 tight end sets or 12 man personnel. Dalton Kincaid, get yourself another good receiver, good player. Maybe an O lineman would make more sense here. Jags fans, tell me how you feel. This guy's 40 time was immensely disappointing, but like I said earlier, I don't think it's about the 40 time. I think it's about the in-game speed. And this guy was a burner in college. I think he won the Biletnikoff. Yeah, this guy torched DBs. His route running isn't like the craziest, but I do think it's good enough for like the deep threat role because I don't think it's just down like running straight downfield is not going to get you open. That's just not feasible. That's why I think the 40 times overrated because there's a difference between running a 40 in open field and then running a 40 when you're getting jammed or there's someone on your butt and then there's a safety over the top that's guarding you. So you're going to like it's just you're not running free. I think that this guy can combine verticals well with like posts and stuff. You'd probably get this guy involved in the screen. This is not going to be a wide receiver one. So they probably need to go address that somewhere else. But I think playmakers playmakers play make. And he was a playmaker. And this team needs offensive help desperately compared to the rest of the division because the rest of the division has really good receiving rooms, especially the Eagles, and good tight end situations. So they need to catch up offensively. And so 25, Jalen Hyatt makes sense. And if they get DeAndre Hopkins along with Darren Waller, then we're making money moves at that point. So 26, I don't know how much y'all follow local radio in Dallas. This is going to be a popular pick among the Brian Broaddus fans. Jahmyr Gibbs at 26. I know a lot of people are going to be questioning this pick because it's a running back. I'm not in the company of saying you shouldn't take running backs in the first round because I think you should get talent regardless. Like even if it's for 5 years because it's a running back, give me the guy that's going to make a Pro Bowl or get me offensive stats immediately. Don't give me the role player. So there's that. Jahmyr Gibbs, while I don't think he's as good as Bijan, I do think he's up there in terms of Pro Bowler / All Pro potential. This guy was basically the sole or the big playmaker for Bama this year. This guy is home run speed. If this guy breaks an open hole, good luck catching him. So that's the thing I like. I think he is pretty comparable to Tony Pollard in that regard. And plus, you don't know how well Tony Pollard is going to come back from the injury. He's on a 1-year franchise tag, so you don't maybe have a future there. And I don't know if this would be the best fit if you're going to get vanilla with the offense that the Cowboys will, or possibly could. But I will say, I think you get extremely creative with him and Pollard on the field at the same time because I both think you could flare them out. They can run routes, like wheel routes, maybe in the same direction, opposite wheel routes, slants, line them up in the slot to run basic routes, get them open on screens. They both have home run potential. So that's the thing I like. You're not going to have an issue of like Zeke coming in and then, oh, well, okay, we can stack the box. We know he's going to get like 4 yards or 2 yards. So there's no threat of a home run. With Jahmyr Gibbs and Tony Pollard cycling out of the offense, you know that there's going to be a home run threat constantly on the field. So teams are going to factor in that in. And I think that the addition of Ronald Jones will give you that hammer option if you need some more physicality, because I don't think that's Jahmyr Gibbs' game. Yeah, basically the comp is Alvin Kamara. That's the number one comp I've seen / Tony Pollard for me. And I think Alvin Kamara in his prime is a first round talent, especially in the latter half. 27, they need run help, run support badly. On offense, they have sputtered out in the playoffs because I think that they put too much pressure on Josh Allen. If you can shut down the passing game, I think that's it. Your quarterback, no matter what, can't be your number one running attack option. Get yourself a road grader. I don't think that this guy's scheme versatile, but he did lose weight. He's a mauler. He has played extremely well at every level of college. I don't think he's let up a sack. I think he'll be good at the next level, especially if he maybe slims down a bit more, or I don't know. But I think at 27, A guard makes sense. They need O-line help badly. They've needed O-help line badly for years now up in Buffalo. I've always thought that they played second fiddle to the Chiefs slash whoever else, the Bengals. So yeah, this offense needs help. I think that the defense got short sticked because I mean were riddled with injuries at star positions. But yeah, give me a O lineman at 27 for the Bills. 28, another O lineman. This guy was a beast for one of the best offenses in college last season. Darnell Wright. I don't know what the La'el Collins situation is, but they got Orlando Brown to play left tackle. I think he's a bit overrated, but he is a good player. Get yourself another solid right tackle and combine that with the previous offseason additions at O-line. I think that this O-line can suddenly go from being bad to actually being pretty good, like at least at the minimum upper half of the league. I think that they struggled because they couldn't stop Chris Jones in the AFC Championship game. Get yourself an O-line that matches with the Chiefs, and I think they're better than the Chiefs. So Darnell Wright at 28, I like this pick. 29, I have a hard time with the Saints because they're kind of all over the place, but get yourself a pass rusher. Your whole D-line, the whole defense is getting old now. Get Kalijah Kancey. This guy is probably going to be more like the pass rush role player. I'm not going to compare him to Aaron Donald. I mean, the similarities are there for him and Aaron Donald with size wise and school wise, but good player. Could be your like DPR from the inside. So this is a hard pick for me to make. I could see them go anywhere, to be honest here. But Kalijah Kancey, they have drafted D linemen in the first round a lot recently. So I think this pick makes sense, and I think it is likely to happen, or it's possible to happen. And he's a good player. Quick, which is probably his best trait. Got that Aaron Donald speed, which I like. 30. I'm trying to remember who I went last time. I did a mock draft earlier. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, so I think that the wide receiver 3 position is a bit in flux with this team. Like they have I forgot his name, but I think they could get better at the offensive wide receiver 3 position. But instead of going with receiver, I'm going to have them help out with the run game some more with Darnell Washington. This guy is built like an offensive lineman at tight end, basically. I don't know how good he will be like receiving the ball, but I do think that he's versatile or hard to match up against because he's a tight end who's also an elite blocker for the position, or a really good blocker with great traits for blocking at the position. And you can let Dallas Goedert be more of the route running guy, get open. Darnell Washington is the blocker slash freak catch guy. Run more 12-man personnel to get the run game situated again. It's already good. The O-line's coming back. Bit of a luxury pick with the Eagles, so I don't really know if they have any needs per se. But at 30, I like Darnell Washington. He might go earlier, to be honest. And then number 31, the Chiefs have shown that they're not afraid of like guys with questions. Kayshon Boutte, get yourself a talented guy. There's been a lot of, I really don't know what the talk is. I remember he was coming back to LSU and then he declared. And if this guy didn't have a disappointing season, he'd probably be like a surefire first round lock. But I think he fits well because he might be slot only, but he's pretty quick. The Chiefs like to do a lot of these like quick dump offs, get people open easily, spread the defense out. I think he fits that quick game with the Chiefs, and I think he's also a good playmaker. So you can dump it off quickly, and then he can get open. Chiefs like playmakers. That's their whole offense. So yeah, that's it. I don't know what's wrong with the screen, but yeah, 31. The Chiefs took Kayshon Boutte or Booty. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry. So yeah, that's it. This video was pretty long, but I'll probably be back soon. I need to be back soon with another video. I'll probably do more player analysis, maybe a longer mock draft, 3 rounds. I probably couldn't do like a whole full draft mock, but 3 rounds I could probably manage. I think this is a pretty good draft. I think it makes sense for the teams. If you're watching and I picked a player for a team that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. Just let me know what you think. because I don't watch all these teams, don't follow all these teams. Be more confident about who I'm picking, like in the NFC or my division. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.